Okay. Looks like recording is working. So I'm just gonna riff the meeting because I don't have a true agenda or anything. But the reason why I wanted to chat with you, Ruben, was because I just started on the growth team, and I'm on retention with Mike. Mike's the PM, and we're going through the 3 or 4 apps that connect all the payment systems that connect GitLab, licensing, version, and payment together. And so we've been working in there a little bit. I'm sure you've noticed. I think we've requested access from you, and we've been making. We haven't submitted. I think we have a merge request in there for some setup scripts and stuff like that. But and I've walked through the flow to see how the payment creation process works. And so I kind of wanted to ask you a few questions around if I'm accurate in my assumptions of how a customer pays for a license. So I made a little flow chart. Turn off my notifications. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I just put together this little flow chart. But if you start on the top left with GitLab.com, or Enterprise Edition as I labeled it, correct me if I'm wrong, but a user goes from .com and goes to the subscriptions page and lands on the customer's app after clicking a plan. After that, the user does a quick little OAuth loop with .com to make sure that the account credentials are the same because they're separate apps. And then they can go to a payment page, which is a iframe. We render an iframe, which is a Zora payment iframe. When the user submits that payment info, a couple things happen where we create a Zora subscription object on the Zora API. We then create a Salesforce account with the Zora subscription ID or some sort of reference. And then we update a couple of objects on via internal API on GitLab, which is the namespace object and the subscription object. And those actually hit the GitLab API and update those objects, so we have so we can be sure that the user has paid. And then we send out a mailer. This is what I would you say that's accurate?
Yes, that makes sense. Yes, after the payment is processed, so we receive a sort of callback. First thing is created is the Salesforce account. So when we create a Salesforce account, we have an account ID from Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we can. I don't remember exactly if we create the Suara account first and update the CRM ID, because the Suara account has a field which is CRM ID. And we set the Salesforce account ID in that value. So when the Suara account has the CRM ID field, it used to do some synchronization between Suara and Salesforce.
Okay. Okay, that all makes sense, and I can wrap my head around that. The piece that I don't understand yet is, oops, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen. The piece that I don't understand yet completely is the renewal flow. So, and from what I understand so far, a user makes a subscription with this flow, and then about a year later, whenever the subscription ends, something happens, and that's kind of a black hole that I'm trying to uncover right now. And what I think happens after talking to a few people from not finance, but like customer specialists or something like that. I talked to Christine yesterday briefly, or Mike talked to Christine. I watched one of their talks, and it sounds like Christine looks at a list of some sort of Salesforce list every day, and looks for the customers that are about to expire. And even if they're, and I'm specifically talking about .com auto renew. It seems like she goes through a list and does a number of things. She makes sure that the credit card is good to go, and then if or not they're over, if they're trued up or not. And then, do you know what she does there? Does she from Salesforce makes another Zora subscription, like on that side, and then that triggers a Zora webhook, which then hits the payment portal, which then fires off another mailer and a few updates to subscription and namespace objects. Is that how that update flow works?
Yeah, I think you're also talking about GitLab EE subscriptions, not just GitLab.com subscriptions.
I specifically want to focus on .com for this.
.com, yeah.
For this.
Yeah. So every subscription in Suara has a flag that is the auto renew flag. By default, it's enabled. So when it's enabled, Suara automatically renews the subscription after 1 year, right? Because we usually sell subscriptions for 1 year period, not monthly subscriptions. So yeah, that happens without customer intervention, right? Suara automatically tries to charge the credit card that the customer has initially registered with us.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That happens at least
on a renewal.
Sorry.
I was just saying that on a renewal, because Christine said that her team has to manually run the credit cards in Stripe for all renewals.
Yeah, Suara has a thing called Bill Run, and honestly, the only thing I know is they use it to bill customers. But yeah, I think they probably do that for some specific customers or subscriptions. I don't know exactly why they use that bill run stuff on Suara. Because yeah, the ideal thing is that subscriptions automatically renew, at least that customer has disabled that auto renew flag for their subscription, right? Yeah, so we have a problem with subscriptions in Suara in general, and the problem is we are not expiring subscriptions after 1 year. So if the customer doesn't renew their subscription after 1 year, right, and they have disabled the auto renew flag, so from a technical perspective, that subscription is still active in Suara because we are not canceling or expiring subscriptions after 1 year. I think the reasoning for that is because we want customers to come back to the portal after 1 or 2 months after the expiration date, and they should be able to see their subscription, and they should be able to renew, even if they don't. I mean, we want to allow customers to renew their subscriptions even after the expiration period.
Sure. So there's like a window that they can do that. And I'm curious, when you say we don't cancel the subscription in Zora, you mean we don't cut off access to the customer when it expires. Yeah. We just let them
Yeah,
keep going.
yeah, because the ideal scenario is that we receive a callback from Suara after 1 year in the case the subscription has not been renewed. But that's not that is not happening right now. So I think there is some people who manually checks all the Gitla subscriptions that need to be moved to the free plan. So
And they manually move those over after maybe trying to interface with the customer and call them or contact them and try to get them to continue and pay.
yeah.
Okay. And would you say that's part of, have you met with Christine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I used to work with her a lot before.
Okay. And that would be in her domain. I don't know which department she works in. It's like something.
She's in billing, I think.
Billing.
The billing
Okay.
team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And just to clarify, so you do believe that Zora will automatically try to charge payment for another year when a user's subscription is up. It'll automatically do that. You don't think that Christine needs intervention in every single account, but you do believe that Zora is automatically processing payment for users who are auto-renewed and have a subscription?
Yeah. There is another thing. I think I'm not sure if Suara maybe just generate the invoice when the subscription has the auto renew flag on. So I think Suara just generate the invoice, but don't bill the customer probably. I'm not sure about it. So maybe that's the reason why they need to use the bill run stuff from Suara.
Bill run. Okay, I'm gonna look into that.
One of the questions is that we've not seen or heard any of like sort of the dunning behaviors that would exist. Like if the card is expired, Zuara would send an email asking you to update your details so that we could rebill you. And so in some of those scenarios of failure to rebill, we haven't uncovered any concepts around that. So do you know if there's anything for those concepts, or if it just fails to rebill, it just gives up? Have you ever edited any of those email templates or seen any flow around that?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know that part. Suara, Suara gives you the ability to configure some email templates for a lot of scenarios. So probably we are sending an email to the customer telling that the credit card is not valid, but I'm not sure if the billing team is also notified about that. But yeah, I think they use some kind of report in order to get the list of subscriptions.
Who do you think would be the best resource to ask some of those questions of?
Yeah, people from the billing team. Christine, Anna, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jay, do you have like minutes or anything where you're taking notes?
I'm keeping track. Yeah, they're not the best yet, but I'm keeping some track.
Okay.
Let me know if you want me. Yeah, I should have had an agenda document for us to share. Didn't do that.
Taking notes is tough. You're recording it. It's good.
Yeah. It's great. Okay, that clarifies some things for me. So I guess the issue that I'm working on right now that I'm trying to accomplish is basically the truing up auto renew users automatically. So when users go over their user count for their subscription, we would like to make sure that the active user count is part of the new subscription. So as opposed to charging a user for 10 users, if they're already using 20, we'd like that new subscription to be 20. But from my understanding, you said it's possible that Zora is submitting a invoice and then maybe the billing team is truing it up manually, and then submitting that invoice to the customer and allowing them to pay.
Yeah, you're still talking about Gila.com subscriptions, or?
Talking about, I guess I'm talking about GitLab subscriptions, which is how we track it on GitLab EE. But I'm also talking about the Zora subscription.
Yeah, so we have GitLab.com subscriptions and GitLab EE subscriptions, right? Right now, the concept of true up doesn't exist for GitLab.com subscriptions. We only use true ups for GitLab EE subscriptions, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry.
Could you explain how does truing up work for a .com auto renew user?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have another problem here. We are kind of losing money because we are not charging customers for extra users when they purchase Gila.com subscriptions. So let's say you initially purchase a subscription for your group, and your group has 5 users, right? So if in the next day you add like 5 more users, so have 10 users in that group, so you should have paid for those extra 5 users. But we are not charging for those extra users. So we have that problem there, and there is a merge request that is still waiting. Yeah, so we have some plans to work on how to build those customers. I think that the initial plan was to kind of run a script monthly or daily, I think, I don't remember. So, and that script checks the number of users that you currently have on your group, and it automatically amends the subscription for those extra users.
Where does that live?
Yeah, and why? I'm wondering if maybe solving it in the process of adding users is maybe a good place to solve that. When I add a new user that goes over my threshold, is it maybe like an opportunity there to say, oh, it looks like this puts you over your threshold. Do you want to change your subscription or purchase new seats? At that point, instead of, because I'm worried that, let's say someone adds 4 or 5 users. I've done this with, contractors, consultants. You add them to a project, you don't realize that you're over on seats, and then all of a sudden you're being billed more without any interaction. That's probably problematic.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the reason we don't do that is that we want to avoid some kind of friction for customers adding users. So if we implement that, that means if I want to add 1 user, like I will need to go to the subscription portal, amend the subscription.
Luke is looking into doing this. We talked with her today about a way to do it, at least for .com users, for when they're adding users to build them forward. She's targeting probably December, January timeframe for that work. For me, the thing I'm concerned about is the renewal. Even if that work is done, and then the renewal logic doesn't change from what it is today, where it's just charging you, it's basically creating another subscription or renewing the subscription for the same count as the original one. Yeah. That will be even in a weirder spot where they've got these users and they're no longer paying for them, or they're free at that point because they've only paid for the first year at a prorated rate. So that's why Jay and Jeremy and I are looking at the renewal for those .com users as a place to start, because there's like you said, we're losing money there. And I think I'm hoping for us to do that. It really is just somehow getting that active seat count and comparing it against the original seat count and just taking the larger one and initiating the renewal or the new subscription for that number of seats.
Just to clarify, I don't think that we need to do that in a way that's introduces heavy friction. I think that there's a balance to be made in terms of charging the user, the customer, based on how many seats they're actually using, and that's not uncommon in software. That if you add users, you go like, oh, you're out of seats, you have to upgrade your seats, and adjust from there. So
yeah. I was mentioning that because we have a similar thing on GitLab EE subscriptions, and I remember we have long conversation with Sid about it. So because in GitLab EE, also if you purchase a subscription for 100 seats, you can add more seats, and you will only pay for that at the end of your period, right?
yeah, which is a year.
Yeah.
And so, but it's not necessarily prorated. It's for the entire year. So
Yeah.
I add them a month before I renew, and I pay for that whole year.
That's a problem for a customer, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily. So there's a lot of challenges around that in both .com and EE. And this is what we're just trying to investigate to understand how all of it works and how we can help.
Yeah. Yeah. Regarding GitLab.com subscriptions, I remember, Luca make a comment on an issue. I don't remember exactly the issue, but Suara has a specifically charging model for this, which is a usage-based model. So kind of we can constantly we can call an endpoint from Suara, and we can provide them with the, so this is the subscription, this is their new number of seats. So Suara will automatically amend the subscriptions based on the new number of seats. So I think this is better than making the customer go into the portal or something like that. So, sorry, you're mute.
We would be changing their, like, the amount that they're being billed without asking them.
Yeah, we don't need to ask the customer. Suara will automatically prorate. We calculate the prorated share for those extra seats and for the number of months left for the subscription.
Were you saying that is something that we're looking into, or that is a capability that Zora has, or were you saying that?
That's a capability that Suara has.
Okay.
So that will reduce a lot of work from us to calculate, to do things, because the initial mail request that I was talking with the proposal to run a script monthly, in my opinion, is some kind of unnecessary work, because we can take advantage of this new charging model from Suara.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more easy to just report to Suara the number of users and the subscription IDs, and Suara will take care of that, right?
Mm-hmm. And do you know if there's been any work in this effort to update the subscriptions, to update the Zora subscription with the accurate number?
As far as I know, nobody's working on it yet.
Okay.
We are using we are trying to see if we handle subscriptions with Stripe or we keep using Suara. So that's where the team is trying to analyze the advantage or disadvantage between those two systems. In my opinion, we should keep using Suara, because Suara has like more years handling subscriptions, has a lot of functionality for handling subscriptions, and I think Suara is kind of new in this terrain.
Stripe.
Yeah, Stripe is kind of new in this terrain. They used to just work with the billing part, but not subscriptions.
I'm curious about having to migrate data from one to the other or maintain both for a long time. That's I think the bigger challenge. Than using Stripe would probably be considerably better from an engineering perspective, but not from a data perspective.
Yeah. Add a new service. Earlier in the call, you mentioned that you were you mentioned a monthly or daily script that runs to check to amend the subscription. Does that exist, or were you just talking? Were you just saying that's possibly a way that we could solve that?
Yeah, as far as I recall, it's already on production, but it's not. It's using testing mode. So we are not billing customers. We are just writing to a log file with with some output that the script provides.
Is that in the customers app?
Yes.
Okay.
I can provide you with the link with the merge request.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. I guess that's all that. It's kind of all that I have. I think that I can ask you. I now have questions that I want to ask Christine, because I feel like there's kind of this. There's still like this black hole that happens during that part of the subscription renewal process. The piece that kind of kicks it off, I feel like, is still kind of dark for me. But I think I want to look more into Zora automatically creating invoices for the sales reps to shoot off to the customers. I think that's what kind of strikes my interest next. Jeremy, Mike, do you have anything else for this?
No, I don't have anything specific. I think, I have more questions on some things that we need to, I think, work with Christine on to get a better understanding of. But no, this has been helpful, Ruben. Thank you.
Sure. I don't really have any more questions. This is just, we're still in like exploratory mode, trying to figure out how things work and, what the touch points are and how we can help.
Awesome. Yeah, please, if you have any more questions, would be nice if you can post on we have a Slack channel, G_fulfillment. So that way other people on the team can also aware of that, and yeah, they can gain knowledge about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Now thanks to you, and expect to be helpful in this call. Yeah.
All right. Have a
Thanks,
nice day.
Ruben.
Okay. Bye-bye.